So I will call this March 17th, 2022 meeting of the Safca Board of Directors to action. Will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Conant?
Present.
Director Abdus?
Here.
Director Reeder?
Present.
Director Holloway?
He's here.
Director Shaw? Director Ashby? Vice Chairman Harris? Director Jennings? Director Desmond?
Here.
Director Frost?
Here.
Chairman Kennedy?
Here.
Director Natoli? Director Cerna?
And Holloway is present.
Thank you. And we do have a quorum of 7 members and 4 agencies represented.
Thank you, Lindy. If everybody will join me in the pledge, and then the clerk will make her announcements. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting of Safca is being recorded and will be re-aired on Metro Cable 14 on Saturday, March 18th at 3 p.m. It will be posted on Safca's website as well within 48 hours after the meeting. Members of the public who wish to address the board should please identify themselves for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And just as a courtesy reminder, please leave your microphones on mute if you are not speaking so that we can avoid a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Next item is the consent calendar.
Next slide, please.
No,
And
I'm sorry, public comments. Do we have
I
any?
have not received any public comments for items not listed on the agenda.
Thank you.
And our consent matters, items 2 through 10 are in order.
Conant move to approve.
Motion by Director Conant,
Second.
second by Director Holloway.
Okay, please, if there's no comments or questions from the board, do we have any public comment on consent?
I do not.
Please, roll call vote.
Thank you. Director Conant,
Aye.
Director Abdus,
Aye.
Director Reeder,
Aye.
Director Holloway,
Aye.
Director Shaw, Director Ashby, Vice Chairman Harris, Director Jennings, Director Desmond,
Aye.
Director Frost,
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli, and Director Cerna. Motion passes with 7-member approval. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next slide, please. Separate matters, item 11 is resolution number 2022-030, honoring the memory and contributions of Dr. Bori M. Steinberg.
All right. Thank you, Chair Kennedy, members of the board, Rick Johnson here. Wanted to take a moment here and honor the contributions that Bori provided to Safca. He's been a member of the Safca team since 1994. And 2 years ago, in March of 2020, I was in DC and received the terrible news that he had passed away. I was incredibly honored and will always remember the opportunity to attend his funeral. But when I got back, it was right when we were transitioning to doing remote board meetings. And in fact, that March of 2020 board meeting was by telephone. And we thought we were only going to be doing them for a few months. So I wanted to wait till we were back in person. But here we are 2 years later and we're still meeting remote. So it just, on his second anniversary of his passing, we thought it was time that we took a moment and honored his contributions and memory here. I should note that his wife, Naomi Cogan Steinberg, and his daughter, Daphne, are here with us today. I wanted to say a couple of things about Bori. Bori came on in 1994. That's when we were still thinking we were going to pursue a dry dam, a flood control dam only up at Auburn. And when Congress didn't pass that, we had to change gear and work towards the projects that we have now. But in order to do that, there were a lot of policies, a lot of regulations, a lot of processes and procedures that needed to be changed in order to do things like at Folsom Dam. And that's not easy to do within the Corps of Engineers. And Bori was able to help us get through all of that. And in fact, I'm convinced that without Bori being there as we made that transition and tried to get some of these projects that were would not have been selected under the normal core process built, we wouldn't have gotten there without Bori. And so I just really appreciate that about him. The other thing, though, that I think is most memorable to me about Bori is just how he approached everyone. He was the most respectful. He was very courteous. He was very calm as he worked with other peoples on issues. He was the ultimate gentleman, and he showed us, and I'm convinced that we learned a lot as to how to work with the Corps in a more calm and cordial fashion in working through these issues. And I think that set the tone that has led us to the success we have today. So, and finally, he was the nicest person I think I've ever met. So at this time, I'm going to ask Tim Washburn. Tim worked for Bori longer than I did, and Tim wanted to say a few words also. So I'll turn it over to Tim for a few moments. I saw him on. Tim, you there?
Okay, thank you, Rick. I believe I am. Can you hear me?
You're on.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Rick, and Chair Kennedy, members of the board. My name is Tim Washburn. I retired as Safca's planning director in 2017, and I'm currently serving the agency as a retired annuitant. I'm going to echo Rick's comments. I'd like to add my support for the resolution that's before you today. I had the great privilege of working with Bori for more than 20 years, commencing, as Rick said, in the early 90s. He was one of the most thoughtful, even-tempered, and helpful people I have ever worked with. He was a true mentor to me personally and to Safca in, as what Rick has alluded to, a very difficult period for our agency. We had all worked very hard to secure congressional approval for the flood control dam at Auburn. The Corps was confident that this was the only plan that could provide Sacramento with the high level of flood protection that we clearly needed along the main stem of the American River. And when we failed to get that approval, the Corps had, as Rick alluded to, a very difficult time shifting to a different approach. So it fell to Safca and our extremely able congressional delegation, including Vic Fazio, who sadly died just this last Wednesday, to piece together over the next 15 years the program that we are now close to completing, and that will, when we're done, provide more than a 300-year level of flood protection along the American River, and possibly as much as 500-year protection if we succeed in adding upstream reservoir storage to the mix. It would have been very understandable for the Corps to react negatively to this level of local involvement in shaping the improvement program that they were called on to implement. And there was some negativity. Bori, with his unparalleled institutional knowledge of the Corps, his revered status within the Corps, where He was the director of planning for many years. He was a master at smoothing out the rough edges of things and finding ingenious ways to align our local needs with the myriad of core principles, guidelines, and regulations that govern their practice. With the help of his wife, Naomi, and I'm happy to hear she's with us today, and later his colleague, Rich Worthington, Bori was able to use these technical and reputational gifts along with his gracious and unassuming character to help build an effective partnership between Safca and the Corps. And I heartily agree with Rick. There is no doubt that without Bori, we would not be where we are today. So I am personally very grateful that I had an opportunity to work with and learn from this extraordinary man. And I urge you to adopt the resolution memorializing his profound contributions to the safety of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate the comments. I will say from a personal level that I won't talk about Rory's professional skills because those have been spoken of. And although I will attest to them, I mean, he was one of those few people that you meet with and you realize quickly that he has forgotten more than you will ever know. And, he was just, but what I will say is a testament is that, he was also one of the kindest, gentlest men I've ever known. But don't sell that short. He was also very effective for a reason because he was tough. And I found, just listening to his stories, and often because Roy was a bit of a quiet talker, and my ears aren't so good, I had to lean in closer than he probably cared. But Rory was a true Sacramentan, whether he lived here or not. He helped us protect, hundreds of thousands of lives. He did it selflessly. And just, when it comes down to it, at the heart of it, he was just a good man. So I'm glad we're finally doing this. I wish we could have done it in a different setting, but there's no reason to put it off any longer than we have. So with that, I would like to give Naomi and or Daphne an opportunity if you would like to say something at this time.
I can't see Daphne. I'm texting with her, but I can't see her.
We can hear you, Naomi. There you
No,
are.
but whether Daphne can hear, me, and if she
I'm
wants
here.
to say
I
something.
can hear.
Do you want me to say something?
Sure.
Okay, so well, to all of you who don't know Daphne, this is Daphne. We always considered a great honor and a pleasure to work with Safca. And one of the only things I would like to say about Bori is that after Bori, it was very important to Bori that things go right and that things are done in the proper way. And he fought for this in the 35 years that he was in the Corps. And he continued to fight for this even after he left the Corps. And once he left the Corps and we set up the business and we started consulting, his goal was to make sure that projects are being carried out properly, that the non-federal sponsor is happy, and that the Corps looked good. And we always felt that Safca really exemplified that, because we know how important Safca was to the Sacramento district, to the South Pacific Division, and to quite a few people up at headquarters, and of course in the office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army, and now we have Doug, who's working with us in we are trying very hard to continue that. Bori was very proud of what he did, with Safca, and we often gave Safca as an example of one of our best clients because things were going well. Even when they didn't quite seem to go well, it took a bit longer perhaps, but they did go well. I am in awe and so appreciative of the fact that you're doing this. Both Daphne and I highly respect all of you, and we really and truly thank you for this kind, I don't want to call it a gesture, but it's a really memorable thing, and we are really grateful. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for being here, Naomi.
You
We
want-
really seriously
You want to add
appreciate it.
something? Thank you.
Daphne, would you like to say something?
I can only second what my mother said, in that this is a really special honor to have this tribute. I know that I was not even in high school, I think, when my parents started working with Safca. And I am now in my second stint in grad school, so I have lived with Safca and for a large part of my life. So I know how important it was to my father, and this tribute is immensely meaningful. And it is so nice to see that his work recognized. So thank you all so much for this.
Thank you, Daphne. It's good to see you again. So with that, I would like to, as the chair prerogative, I would like to make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2022-030, honoring the memory and contributions of Dr. Bori M. Steinberg. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. I believe that was from Director Desmond.
Yes.
Would
Thank
you
you.
please call the roll?
Director Conan,
Aye.
Director Abdiz,
Aye.
Director Reader,
Aye.
Director Holloway,
Aye.
Director Shaw,
Aye.
Director Ashby, Vice Chairman
Yes.
Harris. Thank you. Vice Chairman Harris, Director Jennings, Director Desmond,
Aye.
Director Frost,
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli.
Aye.
Thank you. Director Cerna. Thank you. Motion passes with 10-member approval.
And Chair Kennedy, we'll have a framed, nice version of that sent to Naomi. So,
If there's any indication that there may be a trip out to DC, hold on to it.
okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much for being here, Naomi and Daphne, and thank you for allowing Bori to be an important part of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next slide, please. This meeting will now recess to closed session, and we will continue with the presentation of agenda items upon the director's return. Please keep your microphones on mute as the meeting is being recorded. To the appointed staff and directors, please look for the pop-up screen on your computer to accept closed session. Thank you.
Aye. Here.
Director Abdiz,
Here.
Director Reader,
Here.
Director Holloway,
Here.
Director Shaw, Director Ashby, Director Ashby,
Here.
Vice Chairman Harris, Director Jennings, Director Desmond,
Here.
Director Frost,
Here.
Director Frost, Chairman Kennedy.
Here, Frost here.
Thank you. Chairman Kennedy. I see him. Director Natoli and Director Cerna.
Turner's here.
Thank you. We have a
Kennedy's here.
10-member quorum. Next slide, please.
Lindy, this is Lindy, this is Angelique. I don't know if you heard me or not, but I'm here.
I did get you. Thank you. And we'll have a closed session report out on Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property at 2245 Orchard Lane, Sacramento County APNs 274-0270-007 and 274-0560-048 and 274-0560-054. Negotiating party, Mark Wellendorf, Brian Manning Esquire, on behalf of Swallows Nest Homeowners Association.
Mr. Goldberg, is there a report out?
There is. Jeremy Goldberg, Agency Counsel. The board voted unanimously with direction to staff, the results of which will be made public when reduced to writing.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property at Housley Road, Sutter County APN 350800032, negotiating party J. Rise Richter Trust, John Norman on behalf of Brookfield Properties Development.
This is Jeremy Goldberg, Agency Counsel, reporting out. The board voted with a 9-member majority, 1 abstention, with direction to staff, the results of which will be made public when reduced to writing.
Thank you. And Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property at 1740 and 1760 Creekside Oaks, Sacramento County APN 274-0410-010 and 274-0410-014, negotiating party Willis K. Polite and Colleen Winks on behalf of Seagate Creekside LLC et al.
Jeremy Goldberg, Agency Counsel. Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Item 12 is the Executive Director's Report. Next slide, please.
So good afternoon. This is Rick Johnson, Executive Director. I'll go through these fairly fast, and given that we're kind of long today. I just wanted just a reminder, we talked about a little bit previously in meetings, but as the Corps moves forward, they're planning to advertise construction on reaches F and G and Natomas early in 2023 fiscal year. We have to obtain the real estate required prior to the advertisement, and a requirement of doing that before we start the negotiations, we need to adopt a relocation assistance plan. So Lindy, if you go to the next slide. So as we mentioned previously, we have sent out the draft relocation assistance plan. The idea is to see comments from property owners that potentially could be affected. So we were required to send it to all the property owners adjacent to the levee. So just because they received it does not mean that they will have property impacted, but that was a requirement. It was sent out on March 7th. Lindy, if you go to the next slide. And the comments closed by April 7th. It is available online also. And after all the comments will be incorporated, we'll be bringing the final plan to the board for adoption in either the April or May board meeting. So just a reminder of that. We talked about it before, but just a reminder on that's out there. So if you go to the next slide. I just wanted to make you aware, yesterday I had the opportunity to speak to the Corps' Worldwide Public Affairs Workshop. They asked for me to speak as a non-federal sponsor to give our view on how things work, but it did give me an opportunity to highlight and talk about our program. So I just wanted to make you aware that occurred. So Lindy, if you go to the next slide. So the other thing is, a previous board meeting, I talked about that we finally got the PPA amendments to transfer $100 million in excess credit from Natomas to be applied towards our cost share at American River Common Features 2016 by the Assistant Secretary of the Army. So since then, the Central Valley Flood Protection Board approved it on the 25th, and then we signed them all on February 28th in the Colonel's office, and at the same time, we also signed the LPPA. So we are now actually starting to apply some of the excess credit towards our cost share on Common Features 2016. So I wanted to make you aware of that. So Lindy, if you go to the next slide. So even though the federal fiscal year started October 1st of 21, we have been working on continuing resolutions. Finally, Congress passed appropriation bills, an omnibus one that included our water and energy development, and the president signed it just a few days ago. The important item in this is we included almost 157 million to continue work on the Common Feature or Natomas project. So that was a huge win for us, and we were hoping that would finally get approved. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Lindy, if you go, or Ali, I'm sorry, if you go to the next slide. So Corps has a project up on the along Reach D along the Cross Canal up there in Natomas, replacing the pumping plant there, because the old pumping plant, the pipes would run through the levee. Getting rid of those, the new standards take them up and over the levee, and so that requires building a new pumping plant to be able to carry the water, lift the water higher over the new levees. So Lindy, or Ali, if you go to the next slide. So John provided a few pictures just to show the progress. This is when it was getting started back in January. Next slide, please. And this was about a month later. You can see the forms and the concretes coming up. And then next slide, Alia. So this is what it looked like a little less than a week ago. You can see the pumping plants coming together. That it's scheduled to be up and running by next fall. So I just wanted to give you a visual on some of the work going on out there. So next slide, please, Alia. So then the other thing that's occurred since the last board meeting is on the American River Common Features 2016, we've had 2 contract awards. The first one was the Sacramento River erosion contract. It's along the Sac River there, just in the area of the Westin Hotel. The good news is the government estimate was $6 million and the award came in at $3.5 million. This will be constructed this year. So next slide, please. And then on American River, the Lower American River, contract 1, which is site 2-1 in the picture there, that was the government estimate was 55.6 million, and it was awarded for 30.7 million. So we were still almost $25 million under the government estimate. So at this point, we're still getting good bids, which is encouraging. And this also will be constructed in 22 here. So that's all I had. If there's no questions, that's all I had for today.
Thank you. Next slide, please. I'm unmuting you, Patrick.
There we go.
There we go.
I just muted myself. No questions, I take it. Mr. Johnson, I love those government estimates.
Me too.
Separate matters, item 12 is a resolution of necessity number 2022018, continued from the February 17th, 2022 Board of Directors meeting, authorizing an eminent domain action to condemn real property interests for the Reach A component of Phase 4B of the Natomas Levee Improvement Project, easement interest acquisitions over portions of Sacramento County Assessor's parcel numbers 27402700007, 27405600048, and 27405600054. Property owners, Swallows Nest Homeowners Association.
So Chair Kennedy, staff recommends that we continue this till the April board meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. If there's no questions, I will open up the public hearing. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item at this time?
Chair Kennedy, this is Jeremy Goldberg, Agency Counsel. I would recommend that we wait to open the hearing until we're actually going to hear the RON next month, if we do so.
Very good. Then I will not open up the public hearing, and I will take a motion for continuance.
Move the item. Cerna.
Moved by Cerna, seconded by the chair. Would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Conant,
Aye.
Director Abdus,
Aye.
Director Reader,
Aye.
Director Holloway,
Aye.
Director Shaw, Director Ashby, Vice Chairman Harris, Director Jennings, Director Desmond,
Aye.
Director Frost,
Aye.
Chairman Kennedy,
Aye.
Director Natoli, Director Cerna.
Aye.
Motion to continue Resolution 2022-018 to the April 21st Board of Directors meeting passes with an 8-member approval. Next slide, please.
Thank you. And as we can see, the next meeting is April 21st, 2022. If there's no other comments by board members, I thank you for your time. We got through a lot of important information in a pretty fast matter. So then we will stand adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.